Middleton.
Here.
I
Oh,
can't
no.
talk, I'm sorry. Quarles.
Need water.
McGillivray.
Here.
Howell. Miller.
Here.
Long.
Here.
Koa. Zach.
Here. Just give me something to drink.
We have a quorum. Let's do the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the minutes? Commissioner Miller, Gilvray, supporting. Any discussion? See, what? Oh, I am adding, as far as the agenda, we are adding a walk-on of the Bicentennial Executive Committee, approval of Bicentennial Executive Committee budget, and we are going to make that item 1 on the agenda because Judge Warren is in motion call, and it was easier to get him into this meeting at a set time. So, with that, do I
How so
have,
long at the
do I
last board meeting?
need to take a vote for the, well, no, I interrupted that, okay. So, as far as the minutes, okay, support,
I don't think I can get
okay.
internet.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, and then as far as we are going to amend the agenda, as I stated,
So my internet doesn't get
Miller and McGillivray, any discussion about that?
Can't get internet.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, with that, is there any public comment today?
I said agree.
Seeing none, we will move on. I will close public comment. And then as far as communications, do I have a motion for the communications to file? Commissioner Miller, Commissioner Markham, supporting. Any discussion about the communications before us? I do want to note that K, it is a draft of budget hearing schedule so that you can put this into your calendar and have a sense of when we're meeting. What? Oh, I'm sorry, it was amended. Okay, I'm sorry, it was amended. Forgive me. Okay, yes.
We have a special board, finance meeting just before the board meeting. Is that still,
Yes,
that's still in effect, okay?
yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's something it's gonna be short.
Get rid of this stuff. Oh, here it goes.
Okay. Okay. Any other discussion on the communications? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, we're moving on to the regular agenda. And Nancy, I don't,
I got it with that one, but still loaded.
okay, number 1 is the Bicentennial Executive Committee, approval of the Bicentennial Executive Committee budget for 2019. Moved by Commissioner Quarles, supported by Commissioner Miller.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair and Committee. As you know, the Bicentennial Committee, the Executive Committee, consists of 3 people. Judge Mike Warner as the chair, I'm the vice chair, and Christy Zamora is also a member of the committee representing the administration. We have been working on the Bicentennial, developing a plan. We've worked with Skidmore. They completed their research on the type of activities that the community and the various cities would like to have. I think many of you got a copy of their report. It was very detailed as they went out and surveyed what was needed. What we have before you today is the first is the resolution that came out of Legislative Affairs and Government Operation Committee asking for funding to begin the project. And the major steps now are, we need to bring on a person or a firm to get the bicentennial up and going. I think many of you know that the actual bicentennial is March 23rd of 2020, so we don't have a lot of time left. And in doing that, we have come to a decision that it would be great to have someone who can spearhead this for us, a director, to make sure it's done. I'm sure you know by the three people that was just identified to you, they're very busy. So I'm asking for approval. I do have an amendment. Madam Chair, can I introduce my amendment now? I have amendment to the resolution, and here comes Judge with all of his, in case there's any questions about details in his black bag that he carries around. I would like to bring before the committee the amendment to the resolution. I move the amendment of resolution.
Support?
Okay, support. May I speak to it?
Yes, please do.
The amendment, as I began, and I'll go through the amendment, and I'll certainly let Judge say what he needs to and what he wants to add. What's key now is to get the bicentennial up and going and starting the project management's part of it so that we can move forth with it. There are several sections in the original resolution that are being amended. So even beginning with the title, where we were calling it the actual budget for the bicentennial, we're not looking at this as the budget. This is just one segment of startup for the bicentennial. The rest of the discussion about the budget for the bicentennial will go through the normal budget process. So I want to be very clear about that. So the title of this amendment that's before you and the request for funding is the Bicentennial Executive Committee funding for the project management for the Oakland County 2020 Bicentennial. And again, the intent here is just working on the first section of it, some administrative and HR requirements that we have. So on the amendment, starting with the first whereas, actually it's the fifth whereas on the original, the intent of this change is be very specific about what we are asking for the funding for. And as you will see, the funding is there for project management, getting the website up, doing the content branding, and the other administrative type functions that are needed, such as printing the materials, posting, things again, so that the committee and the function can get up and start working. We do have to have those things. Madam Chair, you want me to take questions at the end or go one by one?
Let's go through the whole thing and then we'll do questions.
Okay, thank you. The next change is the sixth whereas. This whereas there is to clearly explain what we are going to be using the funding of the funding that we're asking for today, and then clearly explain where additional funding is going to be coming from. We are looking at doing fundraising. We have a fundraising committee. However, until we can get off the ground with the operational type of activities, we can't go out and do the necessary fundraising. We do have corporations and organizations such as DTE, Consumer Powers, that are ready to make contributions. However, again, we must get organized to do that. If you look at The third, as I'm referring to it, the third, which would be your seventh, whereas, we're removing that completely. That talks about the capital improvement budget for a monument. That, again, will be in that section of the budget process that will bring before when we start our budget proceedings. I'm at the eighth, whereas. The change that's being placed there is to make sure you understand that the amount of funding, which I'll get to in a moment, is only a one-time request. The rest of the funding, again, and I don't want to sound redundant, is going to take place in two places. One is doing the budget process for monies for the bicentennial, as well as our fundraising effort. Looking at the next one is amend and now therefore be resolved. We're changing the amount. The amount that's in the original resolution is $231,200. Again, to get the project up and off and starting with people and having funding for actual operations, we're requesting or asking for $134,800. And again, that will support the project and the planning and the startup so that we can get busy raising money and moving the project forward to meet the 2020 deadline. And then finally, where it says amend the first, be it further resolved, that is adding information and a request on a process. And this process, as the committee, executive committee in particular, will come back and report to the finance committee every quarter on how we're doing, how we are collecting funds, how we've utilized the funds, and talk to you about the the celebration activities. Of course, we hope by then we will have had our person or firm in place. And the reason I keep going between the two, we do have an RFP out now requesting event planning activity that will either a person or a firm will complete. The closing date for the RFP is June 13th. And of course, after it closes, we go to the evaluation, then the selection process. So that is the amendments. Of course, I'll take questions unless Judge Warren has something he wants to add.
There's one more on the other side,
Oh,
Nancy.
I apologize. Oh, yes, and one of the most important ones. Forget to turn the page over. The amendment to the second amendment, be it further resolved, it's telling you where the $134,000 will be coming from.
Thank you. Do you have anything to add?
I do. First off, I apologize. My docket cut me away from being at the very beginning of the meeting. I apologize for that. I'd just like to add a couple of things. First off, I want to thank the commissioners for their creation of the Bicentennial Executive Committee, their acknowledgement of the importance of the bicentennial. We are doing your work, and we wouldn't be here but for you, so thank you. Oakland County is the best county in the country. That's my feeling. I hope you share it. 200 years is a milestone, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to celebrate, commemorate, and educate about where we have been, where we are, and where we are going. We have a very robust and vigorous advisory committee. We have over 60 volunteers. We got at least one in the room, Dr. Stamps. Do we have any other volunteers? I'm not sure. It's awkward time for people, but we have a tremendous amount of energy and excitement behind this project. We have a 4-pronged strategic plan, which I could talk to you about, but I think you've already know a little bit about that. And we are at a choke point. We can't really move forward without this appropriation. If you want to have a world-class commemoration, celebration, and if you want to get a little crass about it, marketing for the county, I would strongly urge you to approve this resolution. If you don't care about the bicentennial, you're concerned about, then just let us know. So that we got these volunteers that are ready to rock and roll. A lot of elaborate plans and ideas, but we're kind of we're at a lull right now, waiting for the approval of at least the amount that's been presented here. So thank you.
Thank you. I have a couple of questions. Commissioner Middleton.
Yeah. What's the estimated total cost to the county? This is going to give you a structure that you can go out and get donations and things. What do you think, and I see the part where it said that the county would make up any difference, has been eliminated. What do you think the ballpark number of?
Mike, do you have yesterday's resolution? Well, actually, do you have the original resolution that we?
Stapled to the front of this?
No, there was the one with the three, you're talking about the three, so this straddles 3 fiscal years? Yeah, that one.
Okay.
There,
The 231,000?
no, that's not
That's
total. Mike is gonna give me the,
Okay.
but there are 2 components. One is what we've been referring to as thank you so much, the operating, and the other is the monument. And I know the monument has raised some eyebrows. We have broken those budgets apart. You're not voting on the monument today. So for just focusing on the operations, if we get everything that we want, it's about $500,000 over the 3 fiscal years. If the component that we're talking about for global staffing, which is what you're actually voting on today, okay, which is different, that component's about $160,000. So we're pretty close to the full amount if you were to approve this today. The rest of the $500,000 and the monument will go through the normal budgeting process, and we'll tackle with that there. But after today's, assuming the 134 is approved, it says 159,800 is the total for the 3 fiscal years for the component that you're approving today. I hope that helped.
So I just want to clarify, this is a budget that's for this committee. It's not something that a suggested draft of one that you have in front of you. It's not something that we're approving, and we are clearly just going for the startup of the staffing and piece at this point, and we will have an opportunity to review subsequent funding decisions and operations as part of budget. And we are also asking in this amendment to have quarterly reports. So.
What's
Thank-
being asked of you today is the startup money to get this off the ground.
Thank you. Commissioner Long has a question.
All right, thank you, Nancy, you explained the amendments very well. So the project manager, do we have that person yet in place?
No, that is the RFP that's out.
Okay, that's what I was
I'm
gonna ask,
using,
is it-
and I guess I should explain that we have an RFP out. We don't know if it's going to be answered by a firm or by individual. And the close of the RFP is June 13th.
Okay, that's what I was gonna ask, is it going out with an RFP? Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, let's call the roll.
On the amendment, Markham,
Yes.
Middleton,
Yes.
Quarles,
Yes.
McGillivray,
Yes.
Powell, Miller,
Yes.
Long,
Yes.
Koa. Yes. Zach,
Yes. Motion carries. Now on the total resolution,
As amended.
let's call it, don't we have to take a vote? As amended.
okay, Middleton,
Yes.
Quarles,
Yes.
McGillivray,
Yes.
Powell. Yes. Miller,
Yes.
Long,
Yes.
Koa. Yes. Markham,
Yes.
Zach,
Yes. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Hallelujah. Thank you so much.
Back to motion. Okay, next on our agenda, we have Department of Management and Budget fiscal year 2019 second quarter financial forecast and budget amendments. Thank you, and we have Lynn Sunkiss with us.
Do you have a motion?
Do support Commissioner Long, Miller, supporting.
Okay, first of all, you should have a hard copy of the second quarter finance, the second quarter forecast document. The document that was placed on the board's website was not the final version of the document. So the forecasted amount, the overall forecasted amount of $18.8 million, that amount did not change. It was a couple of descriptions or narratives that in the document that were changed. Again, the document was on the SharePoint site, and then I think an older version just got picked up and included in the packet. So I'll be referring to the document page numbers when we go through this, but again, the overall forecasted amount did not change. So we are projecting with the second quarter forecast for 2019 that we will have an overall favorability of $18.8 million, and that is made up of two components: favorable revenue of roughly $5 million and expenditure favorability of roughly $13.8 million. And if you refer to the document page 1, that begins the transmittal letter, and it goes through the various revenue line items that have either forecasted favorability or unfavorability. And so I'll just briefly highlight those. So the first one noted there is tax revenue, favorability of $700,000, and that is primarily because our fiscal plan and our budget assumed a 5% taxable value increase for real property. The actual result was roughly 5.35%, resulting in that favorability. So that's pretty close. That's less than 0.1%. And Dave Peavers over there patting himself on the back for that estimate. The next one, we have some federal grant revenue favorability. Health has experienced some favorability from Medicaid outreach activities. State grants as forecasted to be unfavorable, $511,000, and this has to do with the child care fund. We budget for worst case scenario with that, so this unfavorable revenue is offset by favorable expenditure favorability. Next, on the intergovernmental revenue, we are experiencing at the time we produced this document, $372,000 favorability from revenue sharing distributions. We were happy to see that update from the state in December. And just recently, before the Memorial holiday, we received an excess distribution from the state of Michigan for personal property tax loss reimbursements. So the schedule that they have is they distribute the I'll call it the normal portion of it in October, and any excess distributions will be received in the following May. We budget for receiving 100%, which is roughly $2 million, and we were pleasantly surprised to receive excess distribution of $1.1 million. So we'll be including that with a subsequent forecast resolution. So that's good news. Obviously, we cannot count on that happening every time, but again, we will take it. Charges for services, there's various departments that have favorability, primarily in the courts, in the clerk's office, the children's village, and within the non-departmental for public telephone commission revenue. Also, investment income, we're projecting favorable right now of about $1.2 million, and the treasurer's office is here. Natalie Neff from the treasurer's office explained that they had invested in some CDs that had some significant interest rates that came due in this past year. So we're happy to take that additional investment income revenue. And finally, there is forecasted $400,000 of prior year adjustments relating to health administrative allocations that we make on an annual basis. So we were able to recover $400,000 from various health grants. Now that $5 million of revenue favorability, we also have $13.8 million of expenditure favorability. And most of that, or roughly half of that, is made up of favorable personnel costs because we budget for full employment. Now there are 2 departments on page 2 of the document that are forecasted to be overall over budget by the end of the year. And this is not anything new as far as these departments. It's the Sheriff's Office and the Water Resources Commissioners. So the Sheriff's Office continues to have vacancies that require them to use excess overtime. They do have favorable contractual services, and we do have some favorable revenue sharing, public service, or telephone communication, or telephone commission revenue that can offset that. We will make a budget amendment with the year-end report if needed, if that trend continues. We've had to do that the last couple of years, and when we've been able to accomplish that. And also the Water Resources Commissioner, it's a very small dollar amount. The Water Resources Commissioner, most of their budget is within the proprietary and special revenue funds. So this is forecast to be unfavorable, roughly $314, and they have favorable revenue to offset that. We will make a budget amendment if needed by the end of the year. So the departments are required, obviously, to maintain their budget at the department level within 3 controllable categories. That's personnel, operating, and internal support. So again, we will monitor those areas. They can exceed a line item, or that one of their divisions can go over, as long as the overall department maintains the budget within their controllable category. It is not a problem. And moving on to the resolution on document page 4. Most of the amendments that are being presented to you today are neutral amendments. They're meaning where we're adjusting budgets within departmental line items based on actual activity that's taken place. I will point out a couple of amendments that are a little bit different. In the 5th whereas from the bottom on document page 4, we are making an amendment to utilize some of the favorable revenue sharing, $64,000, to appropriate that to the Animal Control Division. They had a animal cruelty case that had a large number of animals that had to be taken in and placed. Some of those were farm animals, and they had to pay for the housing while that case is going through the court system. In the last whereas on that document page number, it talks about making an amendment for the local road improvement project. That amount is budgeted in the non-departmental budget, and it also is included in the assigned fund balance. All of the resolutions that have been brought to the committee and to the Board of Commissioners are taking it from the assigned fund balance. So this is a neutral amendment. We already included it one time in the fiscal plan. So again, this is just a correction to say, we've already included the appropriation, but since we're bringing each resolution through and appropriating it from assigned fund balance, we can remove that, what's the existing number in there. It's cleaner. That's the trend we've been doing for the last couple of years with the local road improvements, so that you can see the appropriation being made with each resolution. And with that, on document page 6, the 4th whereas from the bottom, we are bringing an amendment forward, and it's a timing issue. There are 5 capital improvement projects that are in the CIP plan that was presented to the board last year. Those projects, they try to refine the cost estimates by utilizing professional services to refine those before they bring the actual project to the board. And so it's a timing issue. So we're asking for an appropriation to handle the professional services, so that it's kind of being well, I'll say somewhat piecemeal. We need $162,000 to refine the estimates for these projects, and then the remaining balance for those projects will be brought forward in a separate resolution. And with that, I'll be happy to take any questions.
Commissioner Middleton.
Yes, on revenue sharing, and you talked about moving some of that to animal control. Does the revenue sharing check come as one check, or is it?
And we receive several disbursements, like it's received 6 times a year. Every other month, we receive a disbursement. And there's a portion of that $26 million that is tied to the county incentive program, where we have to meet certain requirements, publishing, a citizen's guide, showing our debt service obligations. So that represents $5 million. We met that requirement in December, but again, it's not a one distribution like the personal property tax loss reimbursement. Now that's made up of 2 disbursements versus 1.
Okay. But when it comes, you can't just put it all in one place. It's got to be divvied up to.
No, we do put it, all of that revenue sharing goes into non-departmental.
Okay.
What we're doing here with the animal control is we're making an amendment to recognize that additional revenue in non-departmental, and so we're able to appropriate $64,000 more in the animal control's budget. So it's, overall, that's neutral.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? I have a question. It's on page 4 of the document, 370 PDF. And I appreciate it highlighted the animal control, now I understand that. But below that, whereas a budget amendment of $77,250 is recommended for the economic development, community affairs, general fund purpose, and it says, when I looked down, it's to $77,250, and I went on to later pages, right, it's telling me it's for professional services?
So if you look on document page 10 of that
was
Schedule
where I
A,
saw.
so they're just adjusting their budget between different programs. So it's not asking for any additional appropriation, it's just adjusting it. If you look at the first line, it's reducing it out of program 174240, and it's appropriating an amount in a separate program. So it's
Okay,
just
they're-
adjusting
just
within their line
Within
items.
their budget.
That's correct.
Okay. Any other questions? Seeing none, let's call the roll.
Middleton,
Yes.
Quarles,
Yes.
McGillivray,
Yes.
Powell. Yes. Miller,
Yes.
Long,
Yes.
Cowell. Yes. Markham,
Yes.
Zach.
Yes. Motion carries. Item number 2, Department of Management and Budget Equalization Division 2019 through 2022 Equalization Division Assistance Service Contracts with Local Communities. Do I have a motion? Commissioner Quarles, Commissioner Cowell, Court.
Good morning, I'm Dave Heber, I'm the manager of equalization, and with me is Kimberly Hampton. Kimberly has been with the division a long time, and she works with, amongst other responsibilities, she works with the Corporation Council in preparing the contracts, and then she works with your local communities, getting them to their respective city councils and township boards for their approval, and then we bundle them up when we get a number of them done and back to us for your approval. And I don't know, Kimberly, if you want to walk through any of it, or?
Just, you have before you the communities that we have received signed copies of the contract back, and those are for the charter townships of Lyon, Milford, Oakland, Oxford, Royal Oak, the townships of Rose and Southfield, and the cities of Birmingham, Village of Clarkston, Ferndale, Hazel Park, Huntington Woods, Kego Harbor, Lathrop Village, Madison Heights, Orchard Lake Village, Pleasant Ridge, South Lyon, Walled Lake, and Wixom. And these contracts, the term is from July 1st, 2019 through June 30th, 2022.
Any questions? Commissioner Cowell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You said that what you've received so far, do you expect?
Yes, we've only received about half of the communities for which we're contracted to do assessment.
How many
services.
total do we do?
32.
32. Okay, thank you.
And these are renewals, by the way. They're not brand new, they're renewals.
Commissioner Quarles.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Do we have a list of who you sent them out in the event that we need to contact or remind our communities?
I don't have a list. I can email one to you.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
And with that, Kimberly can let you know which ones we've received, but we missed, they weren't in time to make the packet for this meeting. So we've got some in the queue to bring back.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Any other questions? Seeing none, let's call the roll.
Quarles? Yes. McGillivray?
Yes.
Powell? Miller?
Yes.
Long?
Yes.
Cowell? Yes. Markham?
Yes.
Middleton?
Yes.
Zach?
Yes. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Item number 3, Treasurer's Office, authorized depositories for public funds. Do I have a motion? Commissioner McGillivray, Commissioner Miller, supporting.
Hi, good morning. Jody Weisler Defoe, Chief Deputy Treasurer. With me is Natalie Neff, who I don't think has been before this board very often. She's our investment manager. Lynn referred to her in regards to those very nice investment numbers. That's the main part of Natalie's job, is working to ensure that all of our investments are safe and follow our cash flow needs, and then at the end of the day, certainly make a good yield for the county's investments. But before you is a resolution that just simply updates the list of authorized depositories. The last time this was presented was in 2014, so we've certainly seen a lot of financial institutions merge, close, change, all kinds of things happen. And this resolution does allow for that. After the list does allow for us to maintain investments with mergers and name changes, but there are a few new banks and some that we just haven't had much of a relationship with beyond the FDIC limits. So we wanted to bring these before you and allow us to, continue to invest in financial institutions that invest in Oakland County. So there is a separate resolution on credit unions that has previously been authorized. Any state or federally chartered credit union is also automatically authorized by this board. But this is just in regards to non-credit unions.
That was
Everybody's question. Well, glad I had it on my list.
Okay. And a question about that, when is that going to come to us?
That's already been. That was approved in 2014, I think, 2014. Yeah, it first came before, it doesn't list names of credit unions. It just identifies all federally chartered or all state chartered credit unions that have a physical location in Oakland County.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Cowell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. That was, I guess my question was going to be, what's the criteria for putting our investments in these banks?
Yeah.
You kind of mentioned that they have
certainly.
to have
Yep. So
presence in
under
Oakland County.
so state law requires them to have a location in Michigan. We tend to work with banks that have a physical location in the county. That's our priority. And then certainly we look at a few outside sources, Robinson Capital, other FDIC websites that kind of tell us the safety and security of each bank. They rank them with like a letter number, A through F, is it? We don't see many Fs anymore, thank God. So we certainly look at the safety and the security of each financial institution before we make any deposits with them, certainly above the FDIC limits.
What is the state bank?
It's actually located in Fenton.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's just-
It's been there I grew up near Fenton, so it has been there forever. It's a really great community bank that goes into all the schools, does a lot of student savings accounts, and have they moved into Oakland County?
They have a branch in Holly, I believe.
Yeah, so that's how they fall into the county.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, let's call the roll.
McGillivray?
Yes.
Powell? Yes. Miller?
Yes.
Long?
Yes.
Cowell? Yes. Markham?
Yes.
Middleton?
Yes.
Quarles? Yes. Zach?
Yes. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Item number 4, Department of Public Services, Community Corrections, Michigan Department of Corrections, Office of Community Corrections, Community Corrections Comprehensive Plan and Application for Fiscal Year 2020. It's a mouthful.
Yes, it is.
Introduce yourself, please.
Good morning. My
Oh,
name is
wait, excuse me. I need a motion. Commissioner Long, Commissioner Kola.
Okay, thank you. My name is Barb Hankey. I'm the manager for Oakland County Community Corrections, and this resolution is for approval of our annual application. This year, we're asking for just over $1.7 million, which is about $28,000 more than we requested in this fiscal year. And it's just to help continue funding all of the programs that we run through community corrections.
Are there any questions? Commissioner Miller.
I just want to say, I meant to say this yesterday, but I appreciate the examples you put in the packet. Just the different examples.
Well,
throughout
I can't take credit. If you read the 200-page application, that would be me.
Yeah.
This document that was in some of the packets was put together by the Board of Commissioners
Just the
staff.
examples for the.
Oh, okay, and so she probably cut and pasted that out of the
Okay.
application.
Well,
But I want
I
to take credit for
appreciate this,
something that
yeah.
I didn't do, but thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Seeing none, call the roll.
Howell. Yes. Miller.
Yes.
Long.
Yes.
Koa. Yes. Markham.
Yes.
Middleton.
Yes.
Quarles. Yes. McGillivray.
Yes.
Zach.
Yes. Motion carries.
Great, thank you.
Any other business? Yes,
Yeah,
Commissioner Middleton.
Yesterday, we got a notice of a press release that went out on women's suffrage flags in June and that. And in the press release, at the end, it said, the board unanimously approved on March 14th, a resolution establishing a celebration of the Women's Suffrage Ad Hoc Committee. Gershenson serves as chair. The committee, which also includes Commissioner Angela Powell and Tom Kuhn. Well, Tom Kuhn emailed me and said he wasn't notified of a meeting that if they had one, and that it's a $25,000 expense, and yet it never went to a committee vote, or he's never been involved in any of the discussions. Is there any way to come up with the background of that committee? Oh, okay.
Can I speak?
Commissioner
I would just advise Middleton, if you could, you should talk to Megan, because she's been in the middle of that. And she could give you a better update, because I think they had a meeting that I missed too.
Okay.
But I was updated through Megan as far as where they were at with things. So I would think that, I don't know if anybody else could talk about it, but Megan is the point person on our
Okay, Megan,
meeting. But in that process probably is not valid, I don't know, but she can tell us where things was at, yeah.
You should have been present too.
Okay.
Yeah, cause
Okay.
I'm not, yeah, so I'm Middleton, I'm in agreement, so if you wanna just do the research too, we can both meet with
Well,
Megan.
I'm gonna let,
Mike.
We can get the minutes to the meetings and stuff like that that have already taken place.
But how
And
is
then
the
get you
meetings
the
taking place?
formulation, documentation on that as well. So, exactly.
Me too,
We'll send it
please.
to the entire committee.
But that's what I want to ask is how are their meetings taking place with just Dave Woodward and Marcia Gershenson when there's a committee and Angela clearly didn't get invited?
Tom
and
Kuhn
Tom
didn't-
didn't get invited. So
Let
I'm
me
just-
clear this, I knew about the meeting, I just couldn't make it, so I don't know why, you
All
know,
right. And
so
do
I
they
just
have-
wanna
and-
clear
and I
that
would
part.
like to know, do they have more than one meeting and what's going on with that? Because
The
that would have been
min- it-
expected
it
from
will-
us before
they
too,
will
so.
gather the information together so that everybody can see that.
Okay.
Any other business? Seeing none, do I have a motion to adjourn? Miller, Markham. Any opposition? Motion. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposition? Nay? Okay. Committee